The Orlando Magic find themselves in a 2-0 hole, and before they can search for the hard answers, they got to find themselves. How the Cleveland Cavaliers are taking away who the Orlando Magic are to take control of the series. Let's break it all down on today's episode of Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is April 23rd, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the expert and site editor over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. You can follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, the Orlando Magic take another tough loss to the Cleveland Cavaliers, one that was very similar to Game 1. So as we're searching for the meat of this series, we are starting to find it. The battle lines are drawn as Cleveland takes a 2-0 series lead. We'll break down how the Magic lost their formula as they fall to the Cavs once again, and why the search for answers is so difficult. We'll get to all that, plus go through the box scores we usually do coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA, like our friends at Locked On Cavs. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for. The Locked On Podcast Network, it's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I have a competitive side, and it is a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now free on the App Store or Google Play. So much of what happened in Game 2 on Monday night between the Magic and the Cavs is going to feel familiar to Game 1. Quite frankly, I wouldn't say they were the same game, but there was a lot that was similar. And we'll probably talk more about this tomorrow, and I'm planning to do a live show tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, so stay tuned for that. What felt so similar is that it's all the familiar problems. Yes, like the Magic can't shoot. First possession of the game, off the tip, Magic get a wide open three for Gary Harris. He misses. They dig out the offensive rebound. Get a wide open three for Jonathan Isaac. He misses. Donovan Mitchell comes to the other end of the floor, hits a three. Like, that's how the game started. And that's the tone that was set. But at the end of the day, if you look at the stat sheet, and look, Cleveland got out to the fast start. They took the lead again. That's continued to be a problem for the Orlando Magic. It's one that we've discussed several times here on the show, is the Magic get off to really bad starts, and that is coming to bite them. It bit them in the butt in Charlotte, cost them the chance to host this series. But it's not about shooting. It is about shooting, but it's not about shooting. Because, yes, the Magic makes some shots, especially makes some shots early. Everything opens up for them. Suddenly, they are able to do the things that I'm about to describe and do the things that are so essential to who they are. Quite simply, Cleveland is winning this series, and Cleveland is winning these games, and Cleveland is dominating these games, to be frank. I don't care that the final score was 96-86, that it was a 10-point game, that the Magic had it to single digits with 4.5 to go. This game was not close. The Magic never truly threatened in this game. And again, they didn't hit the shots to get themselves over their hump, just like Game 1. The fact that these games are rhyming, that's a huge concern. The fact that they're not rhyming, they're singing in harmony, that's a problem. And for the Magic, it gets back to that core idea we talked about last week. This core idea that to succeed in the playoffs, to accomplish what this team is trying to accomplish, you have to be yourself, but better. You have to do the things that you're good at anyway, that got you to this point, and do them better. So how did the Magic get to this point? Well, obviously, elite defense. Look, they've held Cleveland under 100 points in each of the last 2 games. That should be good enough. Yes, Cleveland got off to a hot start. Yes, Cleveland had a really strong first half. They scored 58 points in the first half, but they've done enough defensively to win these games. What they haven't done is take advantage with turnovers. Cleveland has 15 turnovers, only 14 Magic points. Orlando has 11 fast break points on 4 for 8 shooting. They're not taking advantage of the mistakes that are handed to them. Again, 19 for 26 from the foul line. You're shooting 73% from the line. If you're not shooting 75% from the line, you're going to lose that game. You're giving away points. And look, Cleveland missed 10, so that's not the difference in this game. But when you're down, when you're trying to catch up, every little mistake matters. It comes down to the most basic principle of this team. And that is win the paint, win the game. Yes, the Magic need shooting. That makes life so much easier, and Cleveland does not care how many threes Orlando takes. They don't believe Orlando is going to make enough threes to bother them, and that's been proven true over the course of these first 2 games. Orlando is tight with their 3-point shots because they are so important to everything the Magic are trying to do. Those are the things locking up what the Magic are good at. Because in this game, Orlando scored only 32 points in the paint. 16 for 34, less than 50% in the paint. That's a credit to Jared Allen, who has been incredible in these last 2 games. It has been as big a factor as any in these last 2 games. But the Magic got to get back to who they are. And Cleveland's making that really hard. Cleveland has made that really hard. Orlando can't get in the paint. They can't get downhill. They can't put pressure on the rim. Cleveland will give up a few fouls, knowing that the Magic won't make up the ground with their 3-point shooting, and that Cleveland will do just enough offensively. They have just enough offensive juice against this elite defense, which is playing at an elite level. A 101 defensive rating for the second straight game. 101-1, I think, in game 2. That should be enough. But it's not. Because the Magic can't do the things that are necessary for them to win. They can't score in the paint. They can't get downhill. They can't get to the basket. And that's a credit, obviously, to the Cleveland Cavaliers and their defense. I'm not putting anything past them. We knew that Paolo Banchero was going to see 2-3 bodies walling him up every time he tried to drive the lane. And the only way that was going to loosen up is if the Magic made 3-pointers. And the series was always going to come down to whether the Magic made enough threes to make Cleveland pay. The fact of the matter is, through 2 games, not only has Orlando not made the threes to make Cleveland pay for that defensive strategy, they've given Cleveland permission to double down on it, to add a 4th body, if that's possible. And everyone in that Magic locker room knows it. Everyone on this Magic team feels it. The Magic have a formula to win. They won 47 times this year. That wasn't a fluke. And Jalen Suggs, I thought, had great perspective after the game that you can't let these 2 moments erase the whole season and the whole work of the season. And he's absolutely right. No matter how this series ends, and it could be in the most disappointing fashion possible, this is still a special team and this is still a special season. But we always knew that their weaknesses would get exposed here in the playoffs. We always knew that they would face these kinds of problems and they'd have to figure out how to solve them. And yes, they'd have to be able to make shots. And certainly we didn't expect them to be this bad. 9 for 35 in this game. Again, taking too many threes, fewer than last game at least, but 9 for 35, just not enough. Then again, Cleveland's only making 12. Orlando's defense has given them the chance. The door is still open for Orlando to win. But everything starts with the Magic getting back to this core identity. Putting pressure on the rim. Getting downhill. Locking up the glass. We'll talk more, I think, tomorrow about Jared Allen and the problem that he presents. 15 offensive rebounds, 9 offensive rebounds from Jared Allen, 18 second chance points for the Cavs. That's your ball game, kids. That's your ball game. Every time it feels like Orlando's about to make a run, every time Orlando gets a critical stop, Cleveland gets an offensive rebound. Or the Magic miss an open 3. At the end of the day, we are here in the playoffs. We are in a results business. It does not matter how good your defense is if they score one more point than you, because the wins matter. We're in a series. You got to win these basketball games. You've got to win. And that's what the Magic are missing. That's what the Magic are struggling to do. Whatever formula they had that worked in the regular season, it worked in the regular season. There's no shame in that. It's not working in the playoffs, or they're not able to replicate it in the playoffs. And that's the basic and core and foundational problem with the Magic's roster that they're going to have to find some answers for. Those answers, though, do not come easy. We'll talk a little bit about what the Magic might have to do and why this is kind of exactly what the Magic need. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word from our friends over at Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It is the easiest and most exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats and watch the winnings roll in. Look, before Prize Picks left Florida, Prize Picks was my go-to fantasy game. It gave you so many great ways to play, including winning up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and plenty more. You can play alongside your favorite celebrities like Meek Mill and Sugar Sean O'Malley with community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Like I said, when Prize Picks was in Florida, I loved playing Prize Picks. It was really the most simple and straightforward daily fantasy game out there. You didn't have to worry about crazy salary caps, weird scoring rules. It was simply more or less. It's that simple. And it's really that simple to play. So download the app today and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Again, go to the Prize Picks app, download it today, use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. Prize Picks, pick more, pick less. It's that easy. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. As you get ready for your day in sports, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel. It's a free 24/7 streaming channel programmed to you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. You get local experts like myself who know their team forwards and backwards from all the big sports stories of the day. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. That's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The series is not over. I want to make this really clear. As bad and as down as the Magic feel right now, and they got a lot of problems to solve. There's no doubt about it. The Magic have their work cut out for them. Cleveland has to make adjustments. They have to make some changes. You're never perfect, but Orlando is the one that has to find that next gear and find the Magic, pun intended. The old saying goes, a series does not start till the home team loses. Cleveland did their job. They protected home court. Orlando now gets to come to the Kia Center where they are very, very good. They're going to come home to a very raucous Orlando crowd on Thursday. I heard that the watch parties at Wall Street were fantastic. So kudos to the Magic fans that showed up and stuck through those games and gave the energy. Hopefully they could feel it in Cleveland. Cleveland crowd was great. The Magic are expecting a raucous crowd and an environment that will boost them in the way that it boosted Cleveland. But make no mistakes about it. Orlando's the one facing the deficit here. The fact that these two games went virtually the same way, and look, Orlando had chances to win both these games. These two games did feel like games that were there for the taking for Orlando. Cleveland kept leaving the door open for Orlando with the turnovers, 15 for 14 points, poor shooting, 16 for 26 from the foul line. The Magic had their opportunity. The Magic, we'll take a look at the numbers again tomorrow. I will post those numbers again tomorrow between my flights back to Orlando. The Magic probably saw a lot of open shots tonight that they missed. It's probably exactly like game one, exactly like the game in December in Cleveland when the Magic were 2 for 23 from three. we know Orlando has these games. And to have them back-to-back in big moments, it sucks. It's terrible. But now the Magic have to find some answers. And the Magic have to figure out, okay, how do we get off to a better start? How do we get the shots to go in? Gary Harris did his job tonight. As much as everyone criticized Gary Harris on Saturday for going 0 for 5 from 3, he was 4 for 7 tonight. 4 for 7 from 3. Did his job. That's what he's there to do. Wendell Carter was 1 for 6 from 3. Jonathan Isaac was 1 for 7 from 3. Paolo was 1 for 4, which is not great, but not terrible for him. Franz was 2 for 4. Franz made 2 threes. The Magic's volume shooters, the guys that the Cavs wanted shooting the ball, did not make their threes. And again, you could maybe say the same for the Magic. Evan Mobley was 1 for 4. Max Strus was 1 for 5. Donovan Mitchell was 2 for 10, made a couple threes early, and then went cold. The Magic did. We'll talk more about Donovan Mitchell here when we get to the box score. But how do the Magic find answers to this problem? That, ultimately, like the way this team is built and the way this team is playing, they needed Jonathan Isaac to hit some threes. We talk about trying to unlock the paint. It starts with making threes. It starts with doing that basic thing, making your open threes. And the Magic are getting open threes. The Magic truly do believe, and I will agree with them, the process of the shots that they're getting is generally good. And everything starts to collapse because they can't make those threes. They can't make Cleveland pay for packing the paint, and they can't loosen things up. And this is the problem. This is why it's so hard to find answers, because there really aren't any off this bench. You could play Caleb Houston for a couple of minutes, but, he's a volume shooter who's not shot the ball well this year. He's, not a high percentage. Anthony Black doesn't solve that problem. You haven't played Jet Howard all year. Chuma Okeke maybe solves that problem. There's no one on that bench. There's no one on this team. And it wouldn't surprise me if Cleveland gets down that they throw Sam Merrill in. They have that guy. They're not playing Sam Merrill. Marcus Morris could hit some threes. If they need rebounding, they're not going to need rebounding, but the Magic don't have a second way to play. And this is why the answers are so hard right now. Orlando is banging their head against a wall. They're like, literally, that's what they're doing. They're banging their head against the Jared Allen wall. And we'll talk more about him on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But the Magic are getting downhill and finding no way through. And they can't find the relief of the shooters, and so they're not trusting the shooters. And that's when you see Paolo make turnovers. And that's where you see Franz turn the ball over. Because they're trying to force the ball into the paint because they don't trust the shooting around them. They're trying to make the right plays. The intention's good. But Cleveland keeps getting them stuck. Whereas Cleveland, Donovan Mitchell scores 14 points in the first quarter. He has 19 at the half. He scores 23 for the game. What do? Well, they go to Jared Allen. They go to Evan Mobley. They run some actions with them. They get Darius Garland going like they did early in the third quarter to extend their lead out. The Cavs aren't a perfect team. I think our friends from Locked On Cavs would agree with this. Cleveland's been the better team by far in this series. I'm not going to take that away from them, but if they're preparing for Boston in the second round, they're going to need to clean up a lot of stuff. They're making a lot of mistakes that have allowed Orlando to just have a whisper of a chance. Orlando should have been blown out in all of these games, even with how good their defense has been. They have sat out the first quarter in both of these games, and Cleveland has taken control but not put the hammer down. And then they've gone silent for long periods, and Orlando just isn't the team to take them out. Kind of like Orlando wasn't the team to take Milwaukee out in 2020. The Magic don't have answers. The only answer they have is to keep doing the same thing. And it sucks. I'd love to see them put Paolo as the roll man on pick and rolls, but you can't run a Paolo Franz pick and roll because the Cavs are just going to switch that. And that forces you into an ISO. That doesn't allow someone to get downhill. That doesn't allow Paolo to get downhill and get the ball in more advantageous spots. Jalen Suggs isn't great at running pick and rolls. Cole Anthony, not a great pick and roll player. The reason why Paolo has to have so much ball handling responsibility is, A, the Magic want that. They want him to get that experience, and they trust his playmaking. But B, the Magic have no other way to attack. No other way that they can rely on. Joe Ingles running point was about the only other thing that worked consistently in this game. And look, Joe Ingles, he scored, 2 points? It was minus 14, but he had 3 assists. Jalen Suggs had 5 assists. I'll give Jalen credit. He did pass the ball pretty well. Orlando's just searching. And I think, regardless of how this series turned out, we were going to view this series as something that's going to teach us what the Magic need. I know I hyped this whole playoff experience up as like, this series, whatever failure the Magic have, failure's good. I'm not, if I don't sound like I'm panicked, it's because I've always viewed this playoff series as teaching us what we need to teach. Now, the Magic need to play better. I believe they can play better. I believe they can win this series. This is frustrating as all out to watch. And you can feel the life and the joy from this team that's defined this team gets sucked out of them. Like Cleveland's suffocating them. But Orlando doesn't have a second way to attack. And maybe that's the biggest lesson they needed to learn. Is they need a guard, not a forward, a guard who can attack off the dribble, who can run pick and rolls with Paolo. The Magic are trying to run inverted pick and rolls, but Cleveland is just playing those perfectly. The Magic aren't setting good enough screens to force them to switch so that they can get a smaller player on Paolo. And that's been the series. Is literally Orlando's got the one thing they can do. And the only way that they're going to make that work is to do the one thing they can't do, or they haven't been able to do so far this series, and that's make some outside shots. That's make some open threes. It's frustrating. It's been frustrating to watch. But it is telling us what this team needs and what this team has to do. And unfortunately, the beatings will continue until morale improves. Because that's kind of all the Magic have. That's the way it is, I suppose, for this series and the way this roster is ultimately made up. We're learning a lot about this team. We'll go through the final box score as we break down Game 2 between the Orlando Magic and the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. Sometimes we all need the opportunity to get something off our chest. Big or small, certain things can really start to get to you. It's important to let that out, especially to someone who is unbiased on your life. So today, I know today is very frustrating. Another loss for the Magic, another disappointing loss in a series that I think a lot of Magic fans pointed to and wanted. I would have warned you that that's a mistake. But I'm not here to tell you I told you so. And obviously, just a disappointing effort, and right now a disappointing way for the season to end. Still got a chance to win at home on Thursday. So even if you're frustrated about something, it's okay to let it out. I will be a little bit of your therapist. That's my job on Twitter, is to calm people down, hear people complain, listen to suggestions. We'll do that on the live pod tomorrow, but this is your opportunity to let things out. So take a moment, take a deep breath, let it out. As Fraser Crane would say, I'm listening. Got it all out? Good. Therapy can be different for everyone. Most of us have bigger problems than our favorite sports team, and it's important to get things off your chest every once in a while. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be flexible, and suited to your schedule. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by a different kind of therapy. It's Monopoly Go. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard not looking good like it did tonight. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out the win. That's when you dig deep. Lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right, the smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with wrecking balls. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends, if you want to be nice, to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. Okay, let's run through the box scores. The Orlando Magic fall to the Cleveland Cavaliers 96-86. They trail the series 2-0. Again, series doesn't really start till the home team loses, until the road team wins. Thursday is another opportunity, and I do expect the Magic to come back home and play a whole lot better. They're a lot freer, a lot looser. The crowd's obviously going to energize them. They've been an excellent team at the Kia Center. It will not be easy. It is not a gimme. Cleveland has beaten Orlando at the Kia Center before and done it pretty soundly. It can be a shooter's gym, I suppose. So again, not guaranteed that the Magic are going to win. Obviously, we'll get to Jalen Suggs here in a minute, but the series is still out there. Like I said, Cleveland has not played a perfect series. They are the better team. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. They probably should have won Game 1 by more than 14. They probably should have won Game 2 by more than 10. That is a sign of hope for the Magic that they can be competitive if they play better. The door has been left open in each of these games. It does feel like Orlando could have won both of these games, again, even though Cleveland was the better team in both. And so I think that's a positive sign heading into Game 3. We'll talk more about Game 3 in the coming days, probably more on Wednesday or Thursday, Wednesday for Thursday's episode. We're going to do a live show tomorrow again at 8 p.m. Eastern time, so we'll get to some other issues and recap Game 2 tomorrow. But let's go through the box score. Paolo Banchero, 21 points, 9 for 20 shooting, 1 for 4 from beyond the arc, only 2 for 2 from the foul line, struggled to get to the line. Just 3 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals, 6 turnovers, 1 block. It took Paolo a while to get going, no doubt about it. I thought that I think he's trying to do the right things. I really do. I know the turnovers are frustrating, and I think a lot of these turnovers are him dribbling into traps, dribbling where the Cavs want him to dribble to. He needs to help. Again, like, we're going to talk about this all off season. We could talk about it now if we really want to, I suppose, but the Magic need to spend their summer figuring out how do we make Paolo Banchero's life easier. Like, plain and simple. Like, him and Franz Wagner. How do we make their lives easier? And obviously the way to do that is with shooting. Franz needs to be a better shooter. Jalen Suggs needs to maintain his shooting gains. Obviously, he hasn't shot well in this series. He's 1 for 10 from beyond the arc in the series right now. Get them some shooting. Get a ball handler who can run some pick and roll so Paolo can get the ball, can work off the ball a little bit more, get the ball in his spot so he's not always dribbling. But look, you watch this series and you watch the way Cleveland's playing him, they are sending 3 to the ball. Like, they are putting 3, they're putting a wall up. It's rough for Paolo Banchero. Like, it is rough. He does not have the space to operate. Plain and simple. And I think he's doing a really good job still finding pockets and finding ways to score. He hasn't been terrible. Obviously, the turnovers suck. I'm not going to sit here and deny that. He's got to be better on that front. But he needs help. Like, the defense has been able to focus in on him and really take him out of it. And I'm honestly impressed that he's been able to score with a little bit of efficiency. If anything, I don't want to say the Magic need to put the ball in his hands more, but he needs to be more aggressive looking for a shot. And that doesn't mean settling. I think he's sometimes settling too much. Like, get to the line, get downhill. Force your way in, force the ref to make a call. And I think, he had a couple shots where he just missed, was doing that and it didn't work. But he's got to be the catalyst. And I think that's the thing he's got to realize is, be quick, be decisive with your movements, but you got to be the catalyst. You got to make everything go for this team and then trust your teammates when they're open, when the defense gets to you, to make shots. I mean, again, it's just like everyone's saying it. They got to make shots. Like, they got to make shots. Like, I don't think that's the only reason the Magic are losing these games. I think their defense has been elite when it's on, but has given up too many spurts. And again, their shot making is making those mistakes feel bigger. But they gotta make shots. Like, it's the point of the game. They gotta make shots. Franz Wagner, I thought, had an interesting game, had a solid game, 18 points, 5 for 17 shooting, 2 for 4 from beyond the arc, 6 for 7 from the line, 7 rebounds for him, 2 assists, also 6 turnovers as well. I thought he was the one that was forcing things a little bit, but again, like, someone's got to get downhill. And Franz, unlike Paolo, has never been a great passer. He's averaged 3-4 assists per game. I'd like to see him become more of an assist player, become more of a reader off the dribble. But I like that Franz brought out his mid-range jumper a little bit. We haven't seen that in a while. He had a baby Dirk early in the game. That's gonna, if he can't, he's got to add that and make that more comfortable part of his game so that teams have to press up on him and he can get by them. Especially when you're dealing with a shot blocker like Jared Allen and a shot blocker like Evan Mobley, being able to stop, change pace, pull up, and hit that little mid-range jumper, that's everything. And so I like that Franz did that, but again, just a rough game. He was trying, Evan Mobley was guarding Paolo, so he doesn't have that excuse on him this time. Franz, I think, was really forcing things, and again, just, I don't think guys are trying to do the wrong things. They're not being selfish, but Cleveland's not given a lot of space. And this Magic team has really struggled to figure out how to work around that space or how to use that pressure against them. And again, a lot of it's just the spacing is to congest the paint and clog the paint. That's the point of everything they're doing. The Magic got to hit shots to loosen that up. Again, so Orlando shoots 9 for 35 from 3. Franz is 2 for 4. Paolo 1 for 4. Jonathan Isaac 1 for 7. Only three points. He did have 2 blocks, but I don't like the starting lineup. I don't like starting Jonathan Isaac. Jared Allen just crushed the Magic. 16 points, 20 rebounds, 9 offensive rebounds, 18 second chance points. We'll talk more about him tomorrow, but the Magic switch a lot, so it's not all J.I., it's not all Wendell Carter. But man, the Magic got crushed on the glass. Like, they just, Paolo's not a great rebounder. The Magic don't have a single great rebounder. Everyone's struggling to corral the glass and just keep a body on Jared Allen. And like, that's a big reason why they are losing is they're just, it's these little things. It's you get a stop, but you give up the second chance opportunity. So even though Cleveland only shoots 41.5% from the game, even though Cleveland only scores 38 points in the second half, like, Orlando's defense is doing the job, but Cleveland is getting second chances. The possession game is so important, and Orlando's giving away possessions that way. And obviously, they're under pressure because they're not making shots. That's your ball game. Like, that's everything in this series. Jonathan Isaac only 1 for 7. Like, he was definitely hard on himself. He needed to make threes. Like, the Magic's whole premise of the starting lineup is we're just going to put Jonathan Isaac out there. He's our shooter. We're going to stretch the floor. He's going to make some shots early and force you to stretch the floor. We're going to play 5 out to try and open the lane up. That way Wendell's not a roll, more of a roller option, but they don't respect Jonathan Isaac as a shooter. So that plan goes out the window now if Isaac's not respected as a shooter. And like I said yesterday, I think taking Isaac off that second unit saps the power of that second unit. Mo Wagner, the only guy positive off the bench, 12 points. He did eventually foul out, but 5 for 8 shooting. He at least, again, he rolls hard. Like, honestly, like, I think the Magic are overthinking things. Get someone to roll hard to the basket. Put Paolo as the screener in a pick and roll. Get him to roll hard to the basket, and I think you'll find some space. I think you'll find the defense suck in and be able to get open looks. And so I think, I'll go ahead and say it. Like, JB Bickerstaff is out coaching Jamal Mosley. Like, Jamal Mosley's tactics are, they're getting open shots. So I don't want to say they're found wanting. Like, they're getting the looks that they need to get. But Jamal Mosley, I think, overthought this one. I think he made a mistake with the rotation decision and with that lineup decision, and it's had a trickle down effect throughout the whole roster. I think sticking with the same rotation from the regular season has been a mistake as well. Bickerstaff's won the coaching battle. And again, with the deficits the Magic have, that can't happen. It'd be one thing if the Magic are just missing shots and that's it. But, like, the decisions with how they're defending Donovan Mitchell, they've had to cycle through a couple defenses before they found something that really stuck. they essentially didn't play the first quarter and a half. They didn't play the first half defensively in this game. And again, it's just that stuff that's tactical. It just cannot happen. And again, so everybody's down and everyone's struggling right now. I don't want to get too deep into this because I'm running long here, but Gary Harris, 14 points, 5 for 10 shooting, 4 for 7 from deep, exactly what the Magic needed. I figured Gary Harris would have a bounce back game. Very, very happy with him. If he shoots 4 for 7 the rest of the series, every game the rest of the series, the Magic will have chances to win. They need other guys to step up and shoot. Gary Harris did his job tonight after everyone said he didn't the other night. Jalen Suggs, 9 points, 2 for 5 shooting, 0 for 3 from beyond the arc, 5 for 7 from the foul line, 6 rebounds, 5 assists. Jalen Suggs is the heart and soul of this team. Jalen Suggs, massive warrior. I have so few complaints about Jalen Suggs. Got caught on a few screens, defending on the few times he was matched up with Donovan Mitchell. He's guarding Darius Garland. The strategy is Donovan Mitchell runs through a lot of screens. Suggs tends to not like to run through screens or struggles sometimes running through screens. Dealing with Darius Garland and kind of shutting him out. Cavs were -4 with Garland on the floor. Only player for the Cavs that was negative plus minus. I think that's a lot of credit to Jalen Suggs. He did finish with 15 points, 5 for 11 shooting, 4 for 7 from 3, but I think a lot of that came with Suggs off the floor. I'd have to double check the numbers a little bit later, but Suggs had what looked like a really nasty knee injury in the first 5 minutes of the game. Magic were down by 3, gave up an 18-8 run the rest of the way to trail, or gave up an 12-4 run the rest of the way to trail by 8, or trail by 12 after the first quarter. Suggs' absence hurt, and it sucked a lot of the emotion out of the game. I wouldn't say his return brought back that energy and brought back that emotion, but Jalen Suggs is a warrior. He said he was doing good. They're going to check him out when he gets back to Orlando. Magic have the off day on, are off on Tuesday. They'll practice Wednesday, game on Thursday, so there's some time for him to get right. But a knee strain, he came back in the second half, shocked everybody, and generally played well. Just, didn't make his shots, but, he was active, he was energetic, he was getting after it. And again, a big factor on why the Magic were able to get back into this game and cut it down to 9 at one point. Like I said, Wendell Carter, 1 for 7, 1 for 6 from beyond the arc. Like, the answers are not easy. I think starting Wendell Carter is probably the right decision moving forward, but he's struggled all year too. Again, that the prompt on my rundown says the hard search for answers. The fact of the matter is, like, the answers to all the questions we're asking about the Magic are probably not on the roster, and that's unfortunate to say. I think we suspected that the shooting certainly isn't on the roster, but I think what this series is revealing in these first 2 games is that there are a lot more problems or a lot more issues that they could paper over in the regular season, but in the playoffs, it's become very clear that this team needs some major changes to get where they want to go, and needs more than just 2 or 3 things. Like, they need specific skills and specific things to evolve from a regular season team to a playoff team, and that's where the Magic are at after 2 games. And look, there's still a lot of time in this series. I want to repeat that. There is still a lot of time in this series. Orlando could easily come back Thursday, win Thursday, come back Saturday, win Saturday, and it's a 2-2 series heading back to Cleveland. Very easily could happen. It would not surprise me if that happens. But they got to do the work, and they're the ones that have the hill to climb right now. They're the ones that are having a lot of very, like, existential questions being asked of them. I'm asking them here right now. And that's what the playoffs do. Like, I don't mean to be so dismissive of the series and saying that this is just merely a learning experience for a young team. They need to win this series. They need to win. They are capable of winning this series. These 2 games are extremely disappointing because they were extremely winnable games where the Magic did a lot of things right. But we are asking existential questions about this team, as we should. And there's a lot of work for the Magic to do to get ultimately to where they want to go, which is competing for a championship, which I think this group believes that they will get to. But there's a lot of work to do, and these 2 games have begun to show us what that work is. But the most immediate job is find a way to win Game 3. And obviously the way to do that, make some shots, keep up this defense, bring that energy, get off to a better start, play from in front, play even, whatever you have to do. Don't fall behind by 10-plus points early. can't climb uphill against this great defense from the Cavs. The Magic have a lot of work to do and a lot of things to figure out before Game 3 and in Game 3 on Thursday. Cleveland Cavaliers defeat the Orlando Magic 96-86. Game 3 again on Thursday at the Kia Center. Bring the noise, bring the energy. Everybody in for that. And hopefully we will see you all there as well. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the Film Sound podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, find us on Twitter there at OMagicDaily. And also be sure to check out my Patreon page for even more on the Orlando Magic. I'm hoping when I get home, after I record my podcast, that I'll be able to do another video breakdown of Game 2, break down a couple plays, a couple things I saw from Game 2 to help you get ready for Game 3 and what the Magic have ahead of them. You can find that at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. Now that you're listening to me, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube and now available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. That's going to do it for me today, though. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We will see you again tomorrow, or today, I guess, Tuesday. We'll do a live episode, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, on the Locked On Magic YouTube page. Search for Locked On Magic on YouTube. I'll share links on my socials. I'll also be on X Spaces at OMagicDaily. We'll do a live show, talk a little bit about Jared Allen, talk a little about what we're seeing in the series so far. I'll take some of your questions as we hit this turning point in the series as the focus shifts back to Orlando. We'll get to all that on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. Again, we'll see you live at 8 p.m. Eastern Time on the Locked On Magic YouTube page. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.